Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Of course, it's the 1st of October and it's the 64th anniversary celebration of our great nation, Nigeria, and the conversation is building. Every conversation we have today is geared towards making Nigeria a better nation as we go forward. Of course, we have guests joining us live in the studio this morning, and we're going to be looking at different things, especially with regards to alternative conflict resolution as we push to build a better Nigeria at 64. We have joining us Barrister Joseph Omorin, who is the Director, Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution, Akwa Ibom State. Good morning, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. I'm most glad to be here.
Thank you. We also have Barrister Rebecca Okwongete, who is Alternative Dispute Resolution and the Nigerian, who is also a director at the Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution, CADR.
A law officer.
A law officer.
A law officer, sorry, you are right. Barrister Rebecca Okwongete, good to have you on the show this morning.
Pleased to meet you.
Welcome. Happy Independence Day. I think that's what I'm going to start from. How do you feel Nigeria at 64? Let me start with you, Barrister Okwongete.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure. We really appreciate you bringing us this far, and we're looking forward to better things to come. It has not been easy, but God stood still, and we are here. We give God the glory.
Okay, so Barrister Omorin would also like to take your word concerning Nigeria at 64. It's a long journey from the eyes of the jury. How would you say Nigeria has done this past 64 years?
We have not done badly. We have to celebrate ourselves first and foremost before we look at where we have our failings. We've come a long way. Previously, it was the white men jurists that took care of issues of justice. We had the West African Court of Appeal. We had to take our appeal to London. But we have groomed a lot of internationally recognized jurists like Elias, and we have solved our problem to some extent. We have been able to create law schools. We are dealing with issues with our own kind of Nigerian flair, that is local, in fact, that is where you have this alternative dispute resolution coming, which was part of our traditional form of justice. So we have gone a long way, and we believe with God we can do better than what we are doing. So we are happy to celebrate Nigeria. We have to celebrate Nigeria, having come this far, ruled by the indigenes of Nigeria and not by colonialists. So we are happy. The evolving institutions are trying their best, and we hope we'll do better.
We hope we'll do better, absolutely. Okay, so let's delve into the conversation. And where I will start is looking at the judiciary in the Nigerian system in the last 64 years. You have just established the fact that at some point we have graduated from having to take, very core judicial issues to the United Kingdom to process. How would you look at the evolution of the judiciary, the laws of the land in the last 64 years? Do you think we've well evolved as a people?
I will say the structures so far that have been created to give justice, they are quite commendable. In that, well, when you look at the issues of democracy and the performance of the players, sometimes it takes a time for people to correct their mistakes. But in terms of foundation setup, in the past 64 years, previously we just had the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and then we had the High Court, various High Courts. Then, along the line, the issue of Federal High Court came in for specific causes, as it's enshrined in the Constitution. But later on, we now knew that new courts should be established. We have the industrial courts. And as we are going on, we also have the different customary courts and customary court of appeal. These structures are established to bring justice in the various states to the people. The white man will not have understood our trend, and that is, will not have understood our peculiar situation in that way. We are, in terms of intellectual output and training, we are putting in enough. All we are praying for is the sincerity or purpose of implementing the policies and the spirit of the law. Because the form of the law is one thing, but the spirit of the law, substantial implementation of the spirit of the law with all honesty, is another thing. And some of those things depend on the players. That's where you have some morality. You have the people implementing this law, God-fearing men. Are they people, principled people that will have respect to the rule of law only? Are these people ready to assist their people to get to the goal? Because you have global practices and you have things that bring forth peace, things that are acceptable, things that are of good report, not to carry double standards. Those are the things. But with the structure we have, with the institutions created, and with the training given, I believe we have gone a long way, and we are moving towards the goal of making justice close to the people, and especially the common man.
Okay, let's speak from your last line, the common man. That is where alternative dispute resolution comes in. The immediate past Chief Justice of Nigeria, Riwola, was one of the key advocates for alternative dispute resolution. When you look at the fact that court cases linger for a long time, and the proverbial saying, justice delayed is justice denied, comes into play. So let's talk about alternative dispute resolution. How effective is it currently in Nigeria?
Okay, taking off from my director from that point, CADR is a center in its own, meaning Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution, and we have a branch here in Akwa Ibom State, 43 in Waniba. We even have a branch at Ikotekbene, Uyo Road, and then we have another branch which we have not launched yet, that is at Oron local government, and then we think we have a branch, prospective branch at Eket, to make sure that there's justice for all, and then we have access to justice without any expenses. Then the alternative dispute resolution, as we're talking about, in Uyo, as this in the person of my director, my humble self, is a branch, we are a department of the Ministry of Justice of Akwa Ibom State. In line with the Arise agenda of the Akwa Ibom State, we are presenting the offer of the governor to the entire public to come, and there's free legal services for you, number one. It's less expensive compared to litigation. We dispense with matters expeditiously. Then going back to the nitty-gritty of what you have just asked me, CADR emanated as in where we have the courtroom is overloaded with cases. We have too many matters, and some matters are not supposed to be there. They're supposed to commence somewhere, and then at a point of maybe like breakdown or there's breach, then it now goes to the High Court. You now see matters lingering for too long in the High Court. You'll be wondering, like, the judges that now, they are working. The lawyers are working. But there are some matters that are so minute that you start somewhere and maybe can end that somewhere, which is the CADR, which is Alternative Dispute Resolution Center. Like, if, in short, let's call it like, the summary of it is that at the inability of the regular court to be able to dispense with conflict resolution at a logical conclusion at a reasonable time, gave birth to ADR. And ADR is really helping in such that there are some very minute matters that we can dispense with in 2 days. That's what we call same-day mediation. There are some matters that linger like 4 days. And that's the most it can go, except matters that extends like going to land, maybe land issues that you need to go for inspection and all that. In short, if you want to give it a shot, ADR is at the peak of it. And it's really like, if we like use our local parlance and say like, our Akwa Ibom state should be like where the tongue and the teeth are living in the same house. Sometimes the teeth now bites the tongue, but other parts of the body don't know when it gets healed. You understand? So that is basically what we are trying to make Akwa Ibom look like. You have problem with your brother and your sister, instead of nursing it and then it cause chaos and then even go to the point of arranging assassin to kill your brother. When you kill, you would not live, the law would not spare you. So you let loose by coming to ADR. Some persons have issues, they say, oh, I even had money, I would have gone to court. What the Akwa Ibom state government has made provision to the Ministry of Justice and CADR Center 43-1. They say, come and tell us that problem. Your brother may not listen to you when you have the issue because he's very angry. But when you come, we have a peaceful table to set, you table your problem and we trash it in a way we were trained to do it. We have able hands, good mediators. When we're talking about TADR, we're talking about voluntariness of the parties. We're talking about strict confidentialities of how we operate there. All the matters that trash, they remain private. The only time it comes to public, where at the end of what you're going to do there, we're going to have what we call memorandum of understanding. And that is one of the stake now. In past times, like they used to say, like, MOU is a non-binding process. Agreement. But for God's sake, things have changed. CADR, when you sign a memorandum of understanding, you have legal backing. At the point of finishing signing, both parties, you're already bound by that agreement. We are backing it up by the section of the law, that is section 13, sub 3 and sub 5 of cap 38 of Laws of Akwa Ibom, volume 1, 2022. Right now, so I think part sub 3 says, as at the time the parties finish signing, whatever agreement you have done and signed in the MOU is binding on you. Sub 5 says, by that process, that memorandum of understanding gets to court, you get what we call consent judgment. Automatic consent judgment. So no person should like look down on what's going on now.
So there is no room left for people to come to ATDC, agree, and then step out of there and say, look, that was just something I did at face value. So it's not binding. Yeah, but now we have a binding force, which means ATD can also implement in a situation where people default on their agreements.
Exactly. Like, you rightly used the right word. Like, if you have an agreement or you sign a memorandum of understanding at CADR and you're gone, if you keep the rules as to what you agreed to do, it remains there, everything is settled. But a situation where you breach, the person whose right has been infringed can come to us, and that is why we now aid the person for enforcement in the court of law.
So what I'm going to ask is, with the ADR in place, beyond Akwa Ibom State, is this available in other parts of the country? And what are the cases? I'd like for you to cite the example of some of the cases that, the first approach should actually be an, alternative dispute resolution center. Instead of, you mentioned the fact that part of the primary reasons why ADR was introduced is over congestion of cases in the courts. So what cases should first be taken to CADRs instead of, constituted courts of law?
Okay, looking at that, we're like disputes, family disputes. We're looking at husband and wife matters. We're looking at landlord and tenant matters. We even look at some land matters when it comes to, what it makes you're fighting over land dispute, maybe boundary issues. Almost all aspects except we have restriction, criminal matters. We don't, but you can still come to us and we will guide you as to how you go about it in the court of law.
What's the availability ratio nationwide? Because we have people watching us from all parts of the country. We know the prevalence and availability now in Akwa Ibom. Is ADR practiced in other parts of the country?
Yes, for sure. I can definitely talk about Cross River State, and then I think River State, about almost all the states, almost.
So because we need to see how this is holistic enough nationwide. Not Akwa Ibom is in a really good place because you've talked about the senatorial district spread as you are continuing to build. But when we're talking about congestion of our courts, it's beyond just Akwa Ibom. It's a national issue, and we have a new CJN on seat. Okay. How is she, going to collaborate with ADR to make sure that the jury moves forward?
Yeah, we to start from in some states, some states are beginning to include ADR in their civil procedure rules.
Yes.
I think Order 17 of the Abuja Federal Capital Territory rules. It says that the court, with the support of the parties, can permit or give room for settlement of disputes before it, with the use of mediation, negotiation, arbitration, or any other legally recognized method of resolution. That is to say, if that is Order 17 of Federal Capital Territory rules, you can understand how it can spread around the 31 states of Nigeria. Okay. That's when we're talking about the judge, how he's going to collaborate. The chief judge of the state is that's what we call is embedded with the law, so she knows how to go about it. Meaning that there are some states, there are some positions where if you're going for enforcement for consent judgment, it is not a matter of going to meet the chief judge. She is aware that we are working hand in hand with this Arise agenda for peaceful coexistence in Akwa Ibom State. All the judges are vested with the fact that once it comes, consent judgment is sure.
So he has the full backing.
Yeah.
So, Director, I'm going to ask you, in trying to implement, ADR in Akwa Ibom State, for instance, what are some of the challenges you are currently facing?
The first challenge is ADR is a voluntary process, provided the two parties submit voluntarily the dispute. Where one of the parties refuses to be on the table, that's a challenge. But immediately both parties voluntarily submit themselves to the table, in fact, the process, the conveyor belt of justice has started to run. And then at the end, it is easier to reconcile or easier for that conflict to be resolved on the table. The second challenge we are having is the issue, though it is binding at the point of signing, we've not been given power of enforcement. The power of enforcement is still with the court. The MOU will have to be taken to the next platform, which is the court. Take, for instance, it was a monetary transaction, and we had a mediation over it, and it was resolved. And then suddenly the other person reneged and wanted to challenge what was done. You have to take that document to the court, and then it will be in the filing under the undefended list. And then the MOU is put in, that the enforcement will come upon it. So those are two major challenges. But in terms, we don't have challenges when it comes to the rules, because the strict confidentiality and the fact that our trained mediators make the conference room table or the platform for reconciliation very amiable, that is, people feel free, unlike in the court. Because when you go to the court, you have certain rules of evidence law, you have procedure, and many other things, and then technicalities that come in. And those technicalities could rob you of time, objections. While here, things have been simplified. There is no wearing of mask. All of us are on the same table. In the criminal law aspect, or even in the civil law, you'll find that A transfer of a judge or an elevation of a judge could mean that the case will start de novo. That is whatever was done. Or sometimes maybe if a judge dies. That's why you find some cases run for about 10 years. Some more than 10 years. You find a situation we had to move from Uyo to 18 and to Ukarafun to back as the judge is moving. And then we will have to follow, because if you don't get extended jurisdiction to get justice in that matter, in the criminal case, then it means you have to start afresh. And some of your witnesses would have died or may not be around to testify to the credibility of the facts that are already pleaded in the court. So, but when you come to CADR, we have short-time adjournment. We adjourn it just for 2 weeks. And after all parties have put their papers down, within 30 days, sometimes once there is reasonable concession and the issue for determination underlying dealt with, and then the conflict is resolved, within 5 days, something that might have been dragging for so many years is resolved. A memorandum of understanding is drawn up. And sometimes if it were to be monetary aspect, the person will say, I'm going to pay the money in these installments or in these bits. The account number of the center will be given, called clearance account. The money will be paid in, the other person will come, and then it will be signed out. So that the problem of a lawyer coming in who will present certain objections, and some may be technical, is not there. That is, the bottlenecks are removed, and people face the real substance under a congenial atmosphere, and truth is examined, questions are asked, and then what you are looking for comes out under a very peaceful atmosphere. Yes.
The conversation is necessary because to a very large extent, many Nigerians don't even know about the availability of these ADR sets in alternative dispute resolution. So in having this conversation this morning, we're promoting the awareness of the fact that, you know, your cases don't have to first of all get to either a customary court, a high court, and the likes. You can first of all address it at, you know, a center for, you know, alternative dispute resolution. And there's some cases that come to you and you naturally refer to a court of jurisdiction if it's not meant to come to you. Yes. So just as we wrap up the conversation this morning, Barrister Pointe, I would like for you to just, you know, reel out some of the benefits why people should take advantage of the ADR platforms as we wrap up this morning. Okay,
thank you very much. The advantages of our CADR or alternative dispute resolution, they are enormous. To start with, it is fast. We do quick dispensation of justice, that is, get your matters done quickly instead of elongation of time. And then it's cheaper. You are not paying any lawyer to speak for you. The lawyer that is assigned with your file is a lawyer for the complainant and the respondent at the same time. And you are not paying them any bills because they are already paid lawyers by the government of Akwa Ibom State. That's number two. That is, it's faster, you save money, and then we're talking about privacy. Whatever thing is done in CADR is intact. Whatever, there are most persons that maybe there are certain matters you want to go to court and you don't want the public to hear it. So most people refrain from going to court and they nurse the wound and they want to hurt each other, they want to revenge. When you come to CADR, whatever is placed on the table dies right there.
Like matrimonial.
Yeah, matrimonial matters and all that.
Yes.
And then it's an opportunity to tell them to don't waste this offer. If you have a problem with your wife, don't raise your hand on her. Come to us. We, after having listened to both parties, there's what we do some I would call it matrimonial lectures to the wife. And if it's the wife that brought the problem, and instead of insulting your husband and causing chaos, we have lectures, we have male lawyers, we have our own honorable director here. He's going to talk to you and give you the rudiments of matrimonial lectures, which after which those parties, those couples that frown, and they will be smiling back to us. You understand? That on the issue of a child and a father, instead of you disowning your child or you disowning your father, please come to us. We will tell your father that there's a child's right law where there are responsibilities you owe your child, and it has to be done amicably. You brought this child to the surface of the earth. You don't have to leave him for whatever reason. And if your father also have a problem against the child, you come to us. We will let your child know that there's a responsibility of a child to the father, and it has to be kept. On the issue of like family dispute, same thing is applicable. So we shouldn't waste this offer. It's a free legal service we render in all those jurisdictions we've mentioned. 43 Waniba is our headquarters. This is our director, Barrister Umoren J.
It's our phone number.
Yes, our phone number is 080-2826-6157. I read that again. 080-2826-6157. That's the number of our director.
Front desk
officer, Mr. O.M. Akman, will attend to you. Will reach out to us, take your complaint, and Akwa Ibom will be sweeter than what it is.
All right. It's been a great conversation this morning looking into alternative dispute resolution. Of course, the phone lines will be shared on the screen, and you can always call and make your inquiries as to how to, amicably resolve the issues that you have. But want to say a big thank you to the Director, Center for Alternative Disputes Resolution, Akwa Ibom State, Barrister Joseph Morin, for coming on the show. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution to, successful justice in Akwa Ibom State. Thank you also, Barrister Rebecca Okwongete. Thank you so much for your time on the show this morning. Well, great conversation that we've had. We do hope that more Nigerians can learn to take advantage of ADR instead of over-congesting the other arms and bodies of law that we have. We'll take a quick pause. When we return, we're still pushing on the stories for Nigeria at 64. The president's speech is still on the table and several other issues this morning. Stay with us.